Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today to discuss the Greenstone gold mine. So as Minister Perry mentioned, we want to develop the north here, and the Greenstone mine is one spoke in that cog, which we're advancing here rapidly to production. I want to begin by acknowledging that the land that we operate in, which is Treaty 9, and it's the traditional territory of AZA, Airland First Nations, Long Lake 58, and Ganoogaming First Nation, and home to the citizens of the Métis Nation of Ontario. Like most public companies, this cautionary note. The agenda, just very briefly, the overview, health and safety, operations update, and the employment opportunities. Can't have a presentation without employment opportunities. There's a long history here in Greenstone Mine. It's been over 100 years. Previously was with underground operations, and now we moved into an open pit, a much larger operation, higher tonnage. And with regards to Orion purchasing in December of 2020, and then Equinox Gold acquiring an interest from Premier in 2021, and then moving forward very quickly, starting construction in end of 21 with the groundbreaking ceremony in October. Here's the site layout. If you notice on your left and right, sorry. Okay, so I will just take out I'm not sure if I'll just do this. So with regards to just the mine itself, this is in the town of near Geraldton. It's just a couple of kilometers away. You notice on the top corner is the open pit. And in the middle, sandwich in between, is the processing plant, and the tailings management facility is down at the bottom. So it's a reasonably compact site, but because it's an open pit, it's reasonably large as well for a medium-sized production. Here's the health and safety. We've had a very good record from the health and safety perspective. We've had one lost time injury in 4.5 million hours, which recently occurred, unfortunately. But we have a significant focus continuing to making sure we move every day, and everybody that comes to work in the morning comes back safe to their families. And this is obviously it's every day. Your focus needs to be on this. On the environmental side, we have the Tailings Review Board that's been in place since 2017, which is our oversight committee. Our closure plan's been filed and will be resubmitted as a normal update. And we have with our Indigenous communities, we have an environmental monitor that is part of the Greenstone project and is involved in all the site monitoring and reporting back to the communities. And of course, the normal groundwater air monitoring and reporting. It speaks to itself, the slide. I'll just leave it there for a few seconds. It's basically a lot of construction work right now, a lot of activities. And when the mine gets into operation, it's about 550 people full-time, plus the indirect work as well within the area and within the region and within all of Ontario. With regards to Indigenous relations, right now we have 24 contracts active at the site, which represents about $100 million and 20% of the project total. And that's some of those services will continue into operations as well. We also have the Connogomis Investment Corp, which is a partnership between our first four First Nations in pursuing opportunities, such as the potential relocation of the Ontario PPP station and a potential to build a 10-megawatt solar power plant. And ongoing tours, of course, and keeping everybody involved in the partnership and understanding the project. On community relations, we have a community sustainability committee that was established last year. We want to be active partners. It's an important part of being close to the community as well. It's just 3-4 kilometers away. And then in terms of sponsoring online certain activities within the community and flowing that, that energy and that money into the area. And we've also executed some options to purchase certain facilities that the municipality had built in the past. Project highlights: it's 27,000 ton per day plant. And it's a normal gold processing plant for an open pit. It's a primary crusher, secondary. We have a high pressure grinding row, and of course the process plant, and then all the ancillary facilities to support that. Approximately 400,000 ounces of gold for the first 5 years, the average, and the reserves are 5.5 million ounces. Here's a processing plant. Here's a 3D rendering. The next couple slides after this, pay attention. The slides are flipped. The orientation's flipped around, but you'll notice it here. As I mentioned, on the bottom portion there, you see a dome structure. So that area is the primary crushing area. And you have the stockpile. And in the middle of the screen, you have the HPGR where it's marked. And then the grinding and processing plant and the leach tanks outside. Now, if you notice here, it's, like as I said, this was like December of 21. Groundbreaking ceremony was October. And there was some initial work before the groundbreaking just to get things organized, but really a lot of the work has happened in the last 18 to 20 months. And if you notice here, obviously was nothing here. We had to get things going. And if you notice afterwards here, this is September of 23. Significant progress, basically complete. We just have a few loose ends to tie up over the next few months, but you can see quite the transformation in about 24 months. Here's the power plant. We've built our own power plant to supply power to our mine site. And so this will be ready to be commissioned in the next few days. East and west end mill and gravity tower. So this is inside the plant, inside the mill. You can see up top, there's 2 ball mills. And the coarse ore stockpile. So things are basically done here. Truck shop, beautiful picture here at night. Just the fully commissioned truck shop. And also on the back side of that truck shop is a warehouse. And you can see the plant further above it. Processing plant, like I said, it's about 10 million tons a year at 27,000, and just some details in terms of particle sizing, and we also have gravity concentration as well, in addition to the leach tanks. Here's the mill building with the conveyors. Here's the construction schedule as of, Here's the construction schedule for H1. So we're on schedule for H1 for a gold pour. And you can notice that we're in the power plant, as mentioned, it's only a matter of days that we're starting up the power plant. It's 99.7% complete. All the machines are basically been certified, and now it's just starting up all the equipment and basically switching from the grid to our power plant. Right now we have a temporary power, and we'll be switching from the temporary power to the permanent power, which is the power plant. So overall, the project is 90% complete, and now different portions are being commissioned as we progress from power plant to crushing plant to various areas. Process plant is 84% complete, and pre-commissioning activities are ongoing, and now we're getting into the focus of mainly electrical and instrumentation, which is the tail end of the construction. Similarly, tailings facility is nearing completion, and we're placing rock on, for the buttressing of the tailings facility, and then the additional truck, the infrastructure, which I mentioned, the truck shop, the warehouse. We've also built the water treatment plant, sewage treatment plant. The list goes on. We've also done a number of relocation projects to support the mine. So this key milestones for H1, first half of 2024, is to pour our first gold. Q3, we relocated the highway. So if you see the site layout picture, the original Trans-Canada Highway was running right through the middle of the pit. And so we had to relocate that highway. We also have to relocate the OPP, the substation, the Ministry Transport area. So basically all the infrastructure that you need in a community, we're basically relocating it. In Q4 2023, we're bringing on some additional equipment as well for the mine. The mine has been operating, so additional 6 trucks and a loader and a drill. And we're basically ramping up the mine pre-production. And first half of 2024, additional equipment coming on board, pouring the first gold, and increasing our stockpile to support the operation, which is the ore stockpile. Here you notice in the pit with our shovel and our trucks. So on pre-production for mining, we are currently at 12.2 million tons, so we're well on our way to ramping up the mine. Our target is to mine 30 million tons when we get into commercial production for this ramp-up phase, and we're operating 24/7 since Q4. So the mine is basically now in full swing, and it's just adding more people, adding more gear, as they say, and bringing the production up. And we continue to supply waste rock to the construction group. It's one big integrated team. It's a self-perform, with our own team, with certain people coming on board to join the team. So there's one hat at the mine site, and we're part of obviously the operations to support the construction of the various activities. In terms of ore stockpiling, we're beginning to see some ore, and we'll have a stockpile of 800,000 tons by the end of 23 here, and that will help to support the operation to get going. And as I mentioned, 2 million by the middle of 2024. We haven't had any need to do any dewatering. If you notice in the pit here, this is a picture of the pit. There was a number of underground workings, as I mentioned, in the past. So there was a number of underground shafts, and those shafts we're using to dewater the pit. And so because it's all connected, we've been quite fortunate that we don't see any issues there in terms of dewatering at the moment. And what I mean by issues is having to dewater separately. We have a permanent water treatment plant, and any water that we need to discharge is treated and meets provincial requirements. The overall operational readiness, this is a big part. I referred to getting keys of a vehicle, and you get the keys, you want to have the manual, you want to know how to maintain it. And so we've been getting some of the keys to some of the equipment, and other people call it the baton, because it's not really a key, because that implies not an integrated team. It's more like a relay race with a baton. And with the baton, we're taking that baton right now and basically starting up the processing plant very shortly here. So we're basically into final preparations. If you notice the procedures and plans that's mentioned in the middle of the page, we're 97% complete on some activities, 63 in others. That's all the procedures. And what's coming up over the next few months is training, hiring additional people. We've hired quite a few people, but we need more, and we'll continue to need people, and just all the activities. So in order to keep this equipment functioning, of course, you need spare parts and everything else. So this is the whole gamut of activities that we've been doing for quite a while now to get this plant going. Here's the mine equipment current status. If you notice in the table, in terms of ready to work end of 2023, so that's just coming up. 14 versus life of mine, which is the maximum. So 14 trucks by the end of the year, 31 contemplated, so it would be more next year. Shovels, 2 right now for next year. Komatsu loader this year to help with the rehandle and feeding the crusher. Pit Vipers, 3 now, going to 6. And dozers, 4 going to 6. And the graders are at 3. So basically all the big OEMs are there, and all new equipment. So employment opportunities. Currently we're at about 250 people hired, and we'll continue to hire people for the ramp up for the process plant over the next 2 quarters. As I mentioned, there's 550 people that are required within about a year and a half from now. So we're basically halfway there right now, and we continue to look for basically all these positions. And it's been going reasonably well. I would say that it's no different than any other operation. One of the key challenges is skilled trades, and that continues to be our focus. And every area is a focus, but that's the challenging focus, I would call it, I guess, if I would want to put it in that perspective. Thank you.